Hey, I'm Doug. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Perplexity Spaces to turn messy workspace into a reusable, improving AI space for your work. We're going to create a space from scratch. We're going to use it, we're going to refine its instructions, and we're going to look at how to improve over time. What we've got up here is the Perplexity home screen. Basically, you've got all the pieces and parts running down the left. I'm getting more into depth on the Spaces piece. Spaces is basically a dedicated knowledge hub for a topic or project. And that's important because it really focuses what we're working on. It groups related searches, threads, and files into an organized area, and then it focuses on using those as our sources. It seems to create a much better product. I haven't used it much, but there is a Teams function where you can collaborate and everybody can share information, text, files, and instructions. It's available. It's not something I use. Think about this project folder that we're going to make as like your AI brain. It's the context that we're thinking in for the remainder of our project. To create a space in Perplexity, we're going to go into the Spaces bar on the left side, and we're going to click Spaces. We're going to go New Space up top, and we're going to click, and we're going to open a new space. There we go. We've got a new space creation up here. It's a text block input for both our new space name, and then we can share it, and then we've got our space for instructions. This is where we get into the basics of our creating our space. Down the right-hand side here, you can do files and links and adding instructions and such like that. I use a lot in the file uploads, and I use a lot in the links, and instructions are obligatory. I use them all the time. What we're going to do is we're going to name our script under new space. We have a basic name of business plan writing scripts. It's obvious, it's clear, we know exactly what this business plan script is designed to do. I have some notes off to the side, and I'm going to copy and paste instead of me typing obsessively. We always want to make sure that we have a clear name. That'll make it much easier to find our spaces when we've got 3 or 4 dozen of them like I do now. By default, your space is private. You can set it to share and make it public. I have not and do not typically use that function. It's right here, and you can share your space, you make it public with anybody with a link, etc. I don't typically share spaces because I put a lot of effort and work into building my spaces up, and I use them as tools consistently every day. Once we've got our space named, in this case, it's our business plan writing script. What we're going to do is we need to add context, files, sources, instructions, and all that kind of cool stuff. This block in here is where we put our basic instructions. Up here under description, we can call this business plan writing script, etc. Basically, this is a short description describing what we're going to be doing with the space. I mentioned that I use uploads all the time. Uploads are super important. They're very easy. And because I've already got Perplexity up and running, I can go elsewhere in the machine and I can ask it to create a document that will help me define what a business plan is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my description here. I'm going to type in a short, simple description, business plan writing space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the space, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to create a new thread. When I create a new thread, I'm going to ask Perplexity to come up with all of the pieces and parts to a business plan so we can quickly download that document and then import it, and that will be our fundamental file upload. By me creating a file in the form of a PDF, we can export it from Perplexity, we can upload it straight into the upload files, and we'll have a much cleaner business plan writing guide than anything I could create off the top of my head. What I'm going to do, I'm going to name this business plan space. So now that we're finished, we have our business plan space. We don't necessarily need to share. We don't want to delete the space. We're just going to save it. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our spaces again, and then boom, here's our business plan writing space right here. We're going to come over to a new thread. I'm going to type in what we need to generate Perplexity generated key that describes the pieces and parts that go into a business plan. I'm going to cut the piece out, and then we're going to upload the finished document. Okay, and we're back. We've got our nice little effectively written business plan. 10 core parts, etc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Instead of copying all this or trying to retype it all, what we're going to do is go up these little triple dots up here, click, and we're going to have our little export to PDF. We're going to export it. I'm going to rename it, and then we'll cut back in just a second. All right, so here we are back on our space. We just click on the spaces bar on the left. Bang, select spaces, here we go. Okay, I have a document in my save folders right over here called Business Plan 10 Core Parts. Keeping the names super simple, we're going to hit the upload files, and what we're going to do is we're going to, there we go, files uploaded. It pops up in this little window here. You can add files, you get a status, etc. like that. It's an uploaded file. Status is ready. We're in good shape. So I'm just going to close this and we update up here under files. We have business plan, 10 core parts. What we're going to do next is we're going to check out our links. Links are pretty easy. All we're doing is we're collecting information from our sites that we like. We like the Better Business Bureau and we like SBA Gov. And the reason we like them is because they are business related and they might have stuff about business plans because they do a lot of funding and stuff for business plans. We are adding these sites as references to the outside world. If we start getting weird answers because of these, we can come through and we can delete them later. That's not a big deal. We'll do that in the iterative process, but right now all we're doing is setting up. Instructions. I'm going to type in an instruction real quick and then we will coming right back into the live world. We put in a simple instruction. We want to create a business plan for our wonderful new product. I'm going to save that because that's where we want to start. We're keeping it deliberately vague. We don't want to go too crazy to begin with because that burns out the iterative process we want to show in a minute. We have our space in good working order. We're going to click back over to Spaces and everything is safe and secure. We're going to come back to Visit and we're going to check. Our business plan is still there. Our SBA Gov is there. Our instructions are still here. That means that everything we've done so far creating our space is correct and we've got a decent little foundation to begin with. Our first real use is going to be a test case and it's going to be wrong because our instructions are weak and vague. That's important. We need to always make sure that we are explaining things like we would be explaining it to a new assistant. We have to articulate in a calm, cool, collected, detail-oriented description of what we want or the computer's going to spin off into Never Never Land because it's not going to understand flowery language or overly technical language. It will get lost, especially if we give crazy contradictory instruction. Before we leave and we start adding a bunch of stuff, I almost forgot, down here in the lower right hand corner, we can do models or we can do voice recording dictation. I've used that a couple times on the phone, not so much on the desktop. Models, you can pick the different types of models that we can work with. Sonar, GPT, Gemini, Claude, and I haven't seen this one before. Metatron, Grok used to show up, which was cool. And we will come on back for our first real use. I'm going to use the space to generate our first draft of our short business plan. Boop, that is a copy and paste of our vague instructions. We want to create a business plan outlining the new extra absorbent non-scratch car wash sponge using information detailed in the space. We're going to click this and it's going to take a minute to generate, which I will remove, and then we will be right back. We've finished generating. It took us about 15-20 seconds, and we have a document that has shown up in the nice 10-point format that we had from our information. Right now, we're looking pretty good for what I asked for. I asked for an outline of the new extra absorbent non-scratch car wash sponge. So that's pretty cool. We come in, get basic ideas about our brief summary, company description. A lot of this information, were we doing it for real, we would have to come in and fill in our own. We would have to say we are an LLC, we are a sole proprietorship, we are a C Corp, whatever our formation structure is. We would need to define things like the ownership, the legal structure, and the company name. The more defined we are with these types of things, the less confusion our machine's going to have. And I'll go through that in the iterative process in just a second. This output is a solid baseline. It's decent, but let's say that I want to go in and get something that's got more punch to it and it's got more power and more weight to it. What we can do is we can come back over here into Spaces, and I want to go back into my business plan because I like the result, but I think we can do better. One of the ways we can do better is by adding more information in the form of uploads for our space to review. I'm going to upload 2 more that I created a little bit ago. We started with our business plan 10 core parts. That described the main sections that are going to go into our business plan. The next piece that we got is our business fundamentals analysis. That's basically like the certification. The idea there is that we're giving our space the basics of a business analyst, the person who is working for our venture capitalists, analyzing our outputs. We want to be producing something that has a high degree of business acumen and operates within those business fundamental analyst frameworks. The other document that I just uploaded is business plan user preferences, because different groups are going to have different interests in our business plan. Angel investors are going to want to know one thing. Venture capitalists are going to want to know something else. A bank or loan officer is going to want to know something else. If we're making a business plan for ourselves where we are using our business plan as a way to guide our own decisions, we're going to have other pieces that we focus on. Now we have 3 documents documents. They're about 3 to 5 pages long with some decent information to them. We have our original thread that we created, create a business plan for our extra absorbent non-scratch car sponge. Now that we've updated our space, let's head back into our thread, and we're going to give our space a little bit of a nudge. What we're going to do is we're back in our original thread, and we're going to ask for an update and a relook and look at the different results that we come up with from our first iteration to our next iteration. Because the thread is a related set of information, it's probably going to be pretty close to our initial. If we take that same prompt again and put it in a new instance and a new thread within our space, we're probably going to get a completely different foundation. But let's give this a shot real quick and see what we come up. We've updated our space. Let's include the new information that we added to our space, and our end user is a hedge fund that wants to invest venture capital. This should drastically change the pieces and parts in our outline. All right, our initial space operated on our 10-point format with cut and dry, simple pieces and parts and answers. We're still in the same thread, but we defined our space and our iterative process, and now we've added new information to our space, and we have specified the business plan is for a hedge fund looking to invest venture capital. Our space has drawn on those new pieces of information and created for a venture capital investor 10-part structure where we're discussing the business analyst fundamental pieces. We have fundamentally evolved our space to get a better result. You can see that the formatting is completely different. We have a beginning investor-focused emphasis. Plan explicitly highlight intrinsic value, free cash flow, etc. This is vastly different than if we're creating this plan for ourselves. Our pieces and parts are the same, but our descriptions of what's going to go into them is going to be slightly different because a hedge fund or venture capital group is going to be looking to get their money out in a 3 to 5 year model. If we're looking at a 3 to 5 year model for them to exit and get their cash flow out, that is super critical and changes our perspective. We can come back into this iterative process and we can basically copy this, go into a new space and change a few little things in a new thread, and we're going to get a completely different result. This is a longer prompt than we have demonstrated so far. Because we're longer, it's taking up more space. So if you ever want to see more of your prompt, hit the little down button, it'll show the remainder of your prompt. Depending upon the details that we're pulling in, I have found organizing for myself using hash and just stacking them like I would for an outline seems to do a good job of stepping things aside in the priority while leaving things related. In this case, what I did was I'm basically writing a business plan for myself to develop our non-scratch car wash sponge. First phase focuses on personal development of this car wash sponge. The end user for the business plan is personal organization while we are developing our product. Then the next bullet that we want to look at is we want to focus on the best practices for our startup and small business. And then we go into be mindful of our limited personal resources in this project. That's a caveat that's just going to help us later on. It's going to clarify and make sure that we don't have anything crazy showing up, put $100 million in financing into this thing. After a development phase, we want to consider financial presentations. We want to have this final instruction here defining our end goal, which is we've finished our development phase in-house and we want to move on to financial presentations. That is a very important distinction because that goes from the very beginning of our documentation all the way to the end state of this phase of our development. We went through, did an SBA style outline. It pulled upon SBA. It states specifically that it's pulling on our core business plan here, personal executive summary, discussing the pieces and parts we want to go through, founders and resources, what our skills are, etc. We got a pretty good result here. Since we're still doing our iterative piece, let's go back up to the top and I'm going to go to our little edit button and we're going to say business plan and we're going to delete the outline. We should flesh out and get a little bit better, clearer results in the form of sentences. I'm going to hit done and then we'll be back in a second. Jumping back in, we have removed the constraint of outline. We've just got business plan, and because that constraint is gone, we have a more detailed outline that has developed. I'd said that this is an iterative process early on. In this case, our business plan is also asking for more information. If we come through and we can say in our next expansion, we can fill these pieces in, we can get a generated one-page overview. We can't do that until we have our names and stuff like that. We take this information, we can copy our information, paste it down here. We'll step away for a second and we can generate our one-page overview. I'm going to be right back. We're back. What we've done is we have let's write a quick draft for our one-page overview with the following information. I've come in here and I've filled in our little nuggets of information and I've put the tick marks in front of them. And what we're going to do is we're going to hit our submit button and it will go through and it should spit out a nice little paragraph for us to copy and paste and install into a document for us to work with. Let's give that a shot and see what happens. That took a couple seconds. It wasn't too terribly long. We wrote from top down. We've done all this work. We defined our new business plan. We used the hashtags to outline how we want things set up. We got a better outline for our business plan. And as we're scrolling along, we're getting good information. We put this information in and we get information out for our draft. We defined section 2, the one-page overview. The information we were looking for was the business name, the mission, the vision, simple goal, and current stages. The generative has produced our one-page draft. Here's our name, here's our mission, here's our near-term goal, here's our 12 months, and our overview. We have a pretty decent result. Something to keep in mind, this is not just a blindly copy and paste. Oftentimes, Perplexity recently has been adding questions to the end. Make sure that you read over what you're pulling. These are all rough drafts. The rough drafts are to the quality that we put in and how we prompt. This is a mirror of the business plan, the business analyst fundamentals, and the end user use cases document that I put together for business plans. This is going to change based upon what you put in because Spaces focuses on those documents in our little environment that we've created. Collaboration and reuse is something that's available. Typically, when I produce something through Perplexity, what I'll end up doing is I'll end up using it for myself. I'll use it as a draft for something I'm doing. I will outline a video idea. I'll make sure that my descriptions are in good shape. I will take pieces of description and I'll make a space so that I can create prompts for images relatively quickly, which you can share and just send to somebody in specific, or you can do the download and the share and the swap spaces and all that kind of stuff like that. Typically, I will export things as a PDF. You saw me upload 3 PDFs that I pulled out of Perplexity just now. If you come down to your add team, if you don't have teams included, you're going to get an upsell. That is available. It's not something I've used because I don't have a team. The advantage of using the team piece is that because it's inside the space, you can invite your team as collaborators. You can get the context files and the same instructions of your Spaces brain so that everyone's outputs are consistent and not random one-offs. If my prompt is missing a period or missing spaces that organize the sections and segments, you're going to get different results. But if you've got a consistent use of space, over time the space becomes a shared knowledge hub for making marketing video scripts. It allows the iterations and the best prompts and the final drafts. They can all go and live in that space. And as you're sharing it between your team, you can all put out a much more honed and professional product. For a quick recap, in this quick demo, we created a space, we added files and instructions, we generated the draft, and we operated on iterative feedback, and we baked those into improvements and iterations of our space and our results. What we did was we got a pretty quality result for a business plan for product that I've spent about 15 seconds thinking. If you want, you can dedicate your own Perplexity space. I do not have a referral link or anything of that sort. It's a productivity tool. It saves me easily 8 to 16 hours every week in the grindy tasks. The tasks that used to take me 4 to 6 hours each, I've shaved like 2 and 3 of those off of my workloads every week. It's effectively boosted my productivity by probably 50%. You don't have to start from scratch every time when you're using Spaces, which is great. Most of the time we talk about marketing and branding stuff or books and the cool fiction stuff that I write for fun. Because I've had this conversation about Perplexity Spaces like 3 or 4 times in the last week, I decided to make the video. Hope it helps somebody. If you'd like, please check out some of the other stuff. Enjoy your week.